Hello and welcome to the Winning Agenda's coverage of the online Twilight Struggle League, the International Twilight Struggle League. My name is Jesse Marshall and I'm here with a game as the USA against John S., also known as Red.Wave. I'm not loving the look of this hand just at first glance. Let's have a think here. Yeah, so not all particularly good for us. I mean, we do have a few ops that are available, but we've also got a lot of ops that aren't really. So Cambridge 5 will be available to us after we play Europe scoring, so that'll probably be a later in the turn thing, as well as Romanian. We don't mind playing that once Europe scoring's gone, as well as wanting to, at the same time, do it earlier in the turn so that independent Reds is not active. Yep, so John's all good with this recording. So Korean War is probably going to be the headline. Arab-Israeli War is more of a problem if it's successful, in that it kicks us out of this whole area, whereas by headlining Korean War, we potentially give ourselves the option of taking South Korea, or at least don't allow them to just ignore it. It's just another way that we can try and put some pressure on in Asia. So yeah, that'll probably be the headline. Socialist government's a terrible headline. 5-year plan and NORAD, we don't want to use those. We want to use them for ops because there are real only sort of playable ops that are actually going to get us ahead on the board. Arab-Israeli war we can use as long as we use one of the ops to go elsewhere, probably into Lebanon, just to also reduce the chance of it succeeding. And then we've got Romanian and Cambridge 5 for later in the turn, and SocGov probably to try and go to space at some point, depending on what tempo allows for. So all in all, obviously a pretty bad hand as the US to start. The other option, of course, is to headline Romanian abdication because it's less ops than Korean War, but I think given we have Europe scoring, we probably don't want to give them a country, a non-battleground country in Europe. We probably want to try and keep up the pressure and hope that they've got things like Marshall Plan and Eastern European unrest that they have to play or handle in their hand, because a lot of the times as the Soviets, you end up sometimes sacrificing position in Europe because you have the good USA the good USA Europe cards, and instead focusing your attention elsewhere. As always, we want to be, once DEFCON's down, moving towards Thailand, although obviously we're happy to put one into Malaysia even when DEFCON is at 4 or above. And yeah, I think that's probably it in terms of everything non-standard. So we're just waiting for our opponent to do the setup. So other options for the headline, just before we go ahead, I mean, obviously we could headline Europe scoring, but I think it is a good chance for us to at least try. So we'll probably hold SocGov for blockade reasons, although if we get Red Scare blockaded, we've got no 4-up cards, so our West Germany influence is gone, which is worth being aware of. We're going to go 4-4-2 just because we do have Europe scoring, so we're going to want to try and protect that. And then, yeah, let's just try and get that out of the way, I think. At least it gets a red card out of the deck as well. And a pretty good one at that. Okay, so we did get red scared, which is really terrible for us given this hand. So let's see where we end up here. Okay. So given how bad the ops are in our hand, we're still gonna do this. So the question is, do we overprotect? They've probably got Truman and they've got a lot more ops than us, so we're just not gonna let them. So the thing is, we can either let them have the jam there or threaten to stay here. I reckon, yeah, hanging around in this region is important. But we do have Europe scoring, but then we also control when that gets dumped, but we also don't want to give Europe up for the rest of the game, but then again, we also don't want to give North Asia up for the rest of the game. So I like this because it at least puts some pressure. The other option is to go into Malaysia, but yeah, I think I don't mind this. If we can make it through this turn with what was already a bad hand and has now been made into a terrible hand because of Red Scare, then I'm going to be reasonably happy with that. Okay, so now we can go Pakistan, Malaysia probably. Yeah, I think the more places that we're spreading influence at this point, the more threats we're creating, the less opportunity we have for our opponent to concentrate their influence on coups and other things. Like, yeah, just the more threats we create generally. Obviously, they can China card coup Pakistan here, but if the if the US forks over the China card on turn 1, particularly into Pakistan, I generally don't mind that. So they did have De Gaulle, which is, you know, a good reason to be scared, generally, in the early war. We're not going to be able to do anything relevant here, so let's just give them that. Actually, we can't do that because we have Europe scoring, so that way if they play 3 into France, they get the domination. So I think we're actually just going to have to eat this as much as it sucks, and just take that back. Just hope that fails as well. Okay, good. Another 50-50 goes our way. But, you know, we had a bad hand and we chose to try and make the best of it. So, particularly the decision to headline Korean War there, I think was good. Worked out well for us, obviously. Okay. So we'll just score Europe here, just to let up the pressure a little. And then probably space Sokov and probably coup as well, just to get probably coup Pakistan. With Cambridge 5. And well, we roll. So we're still losing 2 points at the moment to DEFCON. But I think here, so the choices are space socialist governments or coup. I think I'd rather coup because it gives us a VP and it gets a 1-up out of a hand, which we otherwise have to have. The other option is to play Romanian into France, just to make it easier for us to take it next turn. I don't want to play it into Thailand because I don't want them to be able to coup us there. So yeah, I think those are really the 2 options. And really, I think France is worth too many VPs for us to just... So we can coup just to bring DEFCON down, but I think we'll do this instead because, yeah, I think France is just too important over the course of the game. So we'll do it that way instead. So we get Asia scoring, which is nice, obviously. What we do with it is probably try and take Thailand and India early in the turn, which means we probably want one of the coups. So I don't think we're going to event CIA created in the headline phase here. Let's just think and make sure of that. I think we'll hold Truman just so that we can AR6 break France if they end up trying to commit everything there. We could headline US-Japan just to try and force this Asia domination, but I think we'll just use the 3 from that +1 elsewhere is probably better, even though we have to do it in an action round rather than headline phase. Pardon me. The other potential issue is that they could have either Indo-Pakistani war or a coup on Pakistan, which could make Asia scoring terrible, and I don't think we want to get rid of Truman. So maybe we'll headline Olympic Games here. So that worked out poorly, but good that we didn't headline Asia scoring. Now the question is for them whether they move into Thailand, which looks like they're going to, with 4, and then it's hard for us to coup them out. Fair enough. So now the task for us is just going to be one of trying to even up Asia instead of anything else. So if we coup, we have to roll a 6 to take Thailand, which is a lot to ask. So instead, I think what we'll do is just even up the country count a little, will we? I think we'll place 1. Let's see, so it's 4 to 2 at the moment. 2, 3. Let's think about this again. If we go 1, 2, 3, 4, I think that's best. They could coup Indonesia, which is not the greatest for us if that happens, but also not really the worst. We can also coup Vietnam with one of our one-ups, probably the CIA. Okay. So now we're in a little more trouble in terms of this Asia scoring. So we need to go 1, 2. They've probably got IP war, but I think we've got to probably take the hit, and we end up 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if that was successful. So that's not great. But I don't think we can really do better than that. At least then we'd get to coup, possibly. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The other option is to take Japan and do it that way instead, but I think it's harder for them to take Japan because we've left US-Japan in the deck, and it's going to be coming back next turn. So, So cooing Indonesia, I assume, yeah. Which at least means that we can take the Philippines, even up the country count. We can take Afghanistan at some point to even up the VPs. We can also coup Lao if they move in there. Okay. So that's now a problem for us, but at least we got the China card out of it, I guess. But no, that's pretty bad for us. Okay, let's at least take that because I don't think it's going to get worse, and that at least gets us back a VP. And then we can, okay, I was going to say score Asia and then space, but it's annoying. But I think we'll probably still do that. So we'll probably still score Asia and then space.
Lo que puedo responder es que, por lo menos en las condiciones de nuestro país, no había otro camino.
So a pretty good red hand for them. So what has not come out on the blue side yet? So they've still got Marshall Plan and containment, unfortunate. So we might then use this socialist government. So let's think, do we want to use that for 4? We probably do. The other option is to use Truman Doctrine for 2 influence. To go like that, I think. Because that way we also hold socialist governments through the reshuffle, which stops them from being able to use it on Italy. So I don't mind that too much. Suez and de Gaulle are both still out there, but so is Truman. We haven't got any mill-ups this turn is the other issue, but yeah, I think I do like holding SocGov through the reshuffle more. And this way they actually can't Suez or de Gaulle and just take it with a 3-op. So at least we got Suez and Marshall Plan and Red Scare and NATO. So very good hand for us here. Good chance to Red Scare them, discard Suez or socialist governments to blockade if they play it. But they also got D-style here, which we need to be careful of. Okay, unfortunate that they got that. We should have also realized that was going to be a problem, but luckily that did not go off. And they've got a coup on Iran here. We can't easily deal with that because we don't know where Nasser is. They played it already, so duck and cover comes out. Interesting that they didn't just play duck and cover. I guess they didn't want to give us the VPs, but fair enough. That gives us a nice coup target here, which we'll probably take. The other option is to coup South Africa, but yeah, I think we'll just go with that instead. Okay, so 1 is not exactly what we wanted to roll, but we'll probably event the Marshall Plan, I think, given the state of Europe. And the fact that it will solidify us for a domination. So all the scoring cards came out in the first 2 turns, which is interesting. Doesn't always happen that way. And Asia is obviously something that we don't want coming out anytime soon. Yep, fair enough. So we'll just go... bless me. 1, 2, 3, I think. Even though we've got Marshall Plan. I mean, that forces them to go into Zaire next turn, next action round, but it makes our Marshall Plan reasonably significantly less efficient. We can also try and hit de-Stalinization with 5-year plan. Is not irrelevant since they only have 4 cards in hand. So we might actually do that next AR. And for now, just play this. So if we 5-year plan, we actually deprive them of an action round because they use an intervention, so that's not irrelevant to think about, as well as potentially hitting D-style. So as long as they don't D-style, although they are taking a fair amount of time, and I think Marshall Plan gave them the incentive as well to take out of Romania and Finland, so perhaps wasn't the right play there for that reason, because whilst we took Europe domination, it's not really in their interest to now fight against that, because they sort of just give up on that. So perhaps it would have been smarter to use Formosan or something else to move into Angola or into Egypt. Yep, so there goes the D-style. So like, yeah, 5-year plan's okay, but it's not really amazing. So they did get D-style, they did get D-Col in the early war, which is always nice. Yeah, I'm not sold on this 5-year plan idea. I think we'll just go ahead and do that first. Just because Nasser is still out there. And that makes going to Egypt so much worse. Okay. Interesting. So at least we can go 1, 2, and then threaten the rear lines that way on Mexico by moving into Guatemala. We can also then put one into Cuba just to break their control of Cuba as well, and then threaten to go into Nicaragua and Haiti. So we'll space, and then I think we'll 5-year plan as our last AR, not to make them discard. Like, we know they've got blockade, so like they might just event blockade here. I doubt it, but yeah, we'll take the influence instead. So we could have taken that 1 influence off them, but I just think it probably wasn't that important. So 1, 2, 3, I think. So now at least we can go into Nicaragua and Haiti and try and realign them. I don't know. Is that really the most important thing to do? Maybe we take Mexico instead. Yeah, it's probably just better, isn't it? And if they coup there, they coup there. We'll just try and use our advantages in the mid-war as advantages. And then, yeah, we'll go into Egypt and then go into Libya later. If they don't coup there, like we've at least they got 3 relevant countries to coup, assuming that we don't manage to steal the coup off them next turn. And we're moving into important unscored areas of important regions. So we got Sadat, which is going to be okay, I guess, if they coup Egypt. But as far as headline goes, I think we'll just headline how I learned here. Yeah, let's do that. Nixon's going to be okay for a couple of points. Other option is to headline where we'll bury you, but we don't really want to give up the 3 VPs, I don't think. So let's just go with this. Okay, that's pretty annoying. So if they're going to get Portuguese, maybe we... So we could put DEFCON to 5 so that we try and take the coup on Pakistan with the China card. Or coup with we will bury you. That gives them the potential coup in Italy, though, and we don't really want to be opening Europe up. If we put DEFCON to 4, they get a coup, but at least we get a coup. I think that's probably better. Because if we put DEFCON to 3 here, then we've just essentially been couped and got nothing out of that. So they get a coup, which will be Egypt or Mexico, and then we get a coup to get us into South America. I think that's probably better. Or to coup one of these African countries if we decide that we want to do that. Okay. So I think what we'll actually do is play We Will Bury You, since we've already got the mill ops. And then probably start spreading a little more in the Middle East, I guess. Just to try and get to domination there sooner rather than later. The other thing, I guess, is if we event shuttle diplomacy, at least we get... Just make sure we're not going to die to Africa scoring. Oh, this is not good. Not looking ideal on Africa scoring, I have to say. Hopefully they didn't have that as well. Eesh, yuck. So shuttle diplomacy, probably not going to go ahead with that as an event, I don't think. We'll just go 1. Actually, I think we want to do some China card stuff here. So I'm going to go 1. Two, 3, 4. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we want to try and flip Angola and take back the China card with Nixon if we can get the space to do that. We have reasonable ops this turn, so I want to try and play reasonably aggressively and not just let our opponent dictate terms in these mid-war regions.
The victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom here in this hemisphere. And we hope around the world, God willing, that goal will be achieved.
So the question here is whether we go for a really big coup with Cultural Revolution, or whether we just go try and roll well with Sadat, which exposes us to some tempo issues if we roll a 1. Because as long as anything but a 1, we at least kick them out. But if it's a 2, that's also pretty bad because it gives them a decent coup back, but at least there's a chance that they could foul on that too. I think it's important enough because there's a score coming up that we will actually just coup with Cultural Revolution. Get that. I think. It's a tough one. Yeah, I think it's too important. There's too many VPs at stake there. Still only rolled a 1. That's not good. Okay. At least we have shuttle diplomacy as a backup coup just in case. Interesting. So now we'll coup with this. Should we go Haiti? No, Nicaragua gives us more access. So I think now would probably break them. Like that. So now if they repair Cuba and take Nicaragua, they still dominate. That's a problem. Cooing Haiti is also not great because then they can just coup one of our places. I mean, at least we're demanding 2 ops from them this way. The other option is realigns. Just try and realign them, straight up realign them out of Panama. At +0. Sorry, -1. Okay. Interesting. So we can kick them out of northern South America. We can also kick them out of the Middle East with VOA. We can also puppet governments, which is not irrelevant. And we can hopefully score Middle East positively. We can't really do much about Thailand, unfortunately, but we can take back the China card. So I think it's going to be Nixon or puppet governments. But VOA is pretty good. Maybe VOA is better because it lets us defray scoring if they headline a scoring card, but it's pretty dire being at 16. I guess at least it lets us get 4 points AR1 if we VOA, but I think it gives the game away a little bit if we take one out of Iraq, as to they'll probably just coup Iran. Maybe puppet governments is better. Okay. No, we don't want to do that. 1, 2, because it's worth a VP, probably. Or do we go into Colombia? I think we probably do, actually. A VP this turn, like a 2 VP swing is actually pretty important this turn. No, sorry, we need Nigeria. 1, 2. 3. Okay. Let's leave it at that. Okay. So if we go 1, 2, 3, to give them Africa, do we? Can't afford to do that. No, that still gives them enough. We'd have to take 3 countries in Africa, which we can't really easily do. I think we really have to, in order to come back here, we have to hope that they are not that, because we don't want to get an asset. Let's do this properly. 1, 2. I think we are dead if they have Africa scoring.
To achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Unless we realign Angola. That's really all we've got as an option. At +0. I love it. Yeah, we just gotta hope they don't have it. And we'll take an extra VP there if we can. I mean, it's going to be rough. They're probably going to try and flip Zaire here. I mean, if they've got Africa scoring, they win anyway. Yep. Well, we tried. Unfortunately, yeah, all the scoring cards came out a little early in the mid-war, considering our board position coming out of the early war. The D style probably could have tried to snipe it, but yeah, I think we were just a little bit on the back foot, and when every scoring card comes out by turn 5, other than South America, it means that if your opponent does have the ability to get into those mid-war regions, then that's pretty rough. But, you know, we had a couple of good hands there. We had a good hand here when we had the 2 4-ups, and we had another good hand on turn 3. So we had the chance to try and come back, but yeah, the turn 1 purge and the hand that we had made it a pretty slow start, and meant that we were sort of on the back foot and recovering, trying to get our way back into the game. And then turn 4, the Cambridge 5, although it didn't flip the scoring, it meant that our opponent knew what was going on, and we weren't able to kind of dump the Central America scoring. We had to really fight for that position that we ended up in, and then Africa scoring coming out that turn was unfortunate. But anyway, I'll end the recording there, and interested to hear your thoughts